So do we have any readers here today? How many of you like to read books? Raise your hand. A few. How many like to read comic books? Less and less. Watch movies? Whatever. How about people who like to get on social media? So here's the thing, right? We got people who read books. There's libraries full of them and things like that all over the country. We've talked about that in the past. And social media has become this thing where you get a lot of readers and followers. In fact, I would say this to you this morning. 5.24 billion social media users today. And out of that, 2 hours and 21 minutes per day per user is the average. So social media gets a lot of readings, a lot of clicks, a lot of follows. Some people do it for the news articles. Some people do it for the entertainment value, trying to find out different things. What worked for one person might work for me. Might be about fishing. Jason's been sending me some stuff about fishing on it. I've been sending him stuff about fishing on it. Except most of the ones I'm sending Jason are to make him feel like, oh man, to whet his appetite for going fishing. I'm showing some big lunkers, some big ones. I sent him one last night of a 20-something inch crappie. I hope it was a real video. But anyway, but the point is, people are on social media. And I know most everybody in here, not everybody, but almost everybody, including Mr. Harold Madeley, has a social media, right? We all do it. We get on things like that. But when it comes to books, when it comes to reading books, the top 5 best-selling genre books of all time right now as of today. Number 1 is contemporary romance, love in the modern world. Number 2, mystery and thriller. Now, these are the genres, not necessarily the titles of the books. Crafting a suspenseful storytelling. A lot of people like that thriller-type stuff. Science fiction is number 3, exploring futuristic concepts. Number 4 is fantasy. I like Star Wars. Yeah, you like fantasy too. I like Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, Lord of the Rings, and stuff like that. But number 5 is self-help books. It's the guiding personal development. Self-help books comes in number 5 out of all the different genres out there. And what I want to share with you is 10 million self-help books are purchased each year. So if you're going to write a book, write a self-help book, because 10 million of them are being written and be bought every year. And 56 billion with a B dollars is the market share value by 2030. So in 4.5 years, the market share value for self-help books is $56 billion. Who would like to have 1% of that? I mean, that'd be pretty good, right? But $56 billion in the market sale value on self-help books. And so from classics like Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, Brent Brown's Daring Greatly, or this guy, James Clear's Atomic Habits. People are looking at books, trying to learn, trying to improve themselves, trying to get better, trying to become a better version of themselves, to be successful. Self-help titles dominate the bestsellers list all the time. Self-help books dominate it. So Spines, which is a publishing organization, says this: self-help titles frequently dominate bestseller lists, reflecting a persistent demand for personal development and guidance. Whether readers seek subtle shifts in mindset or full-scale life overhauls, the promise of inspiration and practical advice continues to propel self-help books to enduring success. I think we can all kind of agree. I'm seeing some heads shaking yes. Those are pretty good reasons. So the number 1 best-selling book of all time contains every one of those genres. It's the Bible. And it is the best-selling book of all time. And it carries all that stuff in it. 100 million Bibles per year are sold. And that's not counting the people who get their phone out and have the Bible on the internet. This is actually buying the hard copy of the Bible from the various versions of the Bible based off the Greek and the Hebrew and the Aramaic and all that stuff. 100 million sold per year. And that's not counting the millions that people already have in their possession, right? They already got these in their possession. In fact, 5.5 to 7 billion, with a B, Bibles have been printed since the Gutenberg press that we know of, that we have access to. That's not counting the manuscripts and things like that that were written before it became a Bible of itself. But 5.7 billion all-time copies of the Bible have been made. So I forgot to take that out. I was writing something else down, and so don't pay attention to Stan. Well, I actually do pay attention to stand. It was a cue for me because I thought I would forget, and I forgot what I put it there for. So go ahead and stand, if you would, if you're able to. We're going to be in 2 Kings chapter 5, verses 1 through 9. Hey, it doesn't matter if you're a preacher, a baseball coach, football coach, whatever, or a husband. Sometimes you forget why you prompted yourself something. Anybody ever gave themselves a note and said, what was that for? Well, this is what this was for. We're going to be singing a song here in a second, just kind of give you a break. And it's about Waymaker. Now, here's the thing. What do you do when your strength isn't enough? Self-help books are popular, right? What do you do when your strength is not enough? When your organizational position is not enough? When your influence is not enough? What do you do when your finances and your reputation aren't enough? What do you do when your knowledge, you got all this head knowledge, degrees, access to Google, all this stuff. What do you do when it's not enough? What do you do when your abilities aren't enough? You look for a way. Right now, as we sing this song, I want you to sing it to the Lord for yourselves. But I also want you to keep Harold and Millie in mind. Harold announced to us on Wednesday night, it went out in a message. Harold's been diagnosed with cancer this last week. He's waiting on test results to get them sometime in the next week. He is here praising God. He is here knowing that God is a God who makes a way. So we're going to sing Waymaker at this time, then you guys can be seated afterwards. Worship you, I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you, I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you, I worship you. You are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Who you are. That is who you are. That is who you are. When you don't see it's working, even when I don't see it working, you never stop working, you never stop. Jesus, you are waymaker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. Is who you are. Maker, miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness, my God, that is who you are. 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 because through him the Lord had given victory to Aram. He was a valiant soldier, but he had leprosy. Now what I want you to see here is Naaman had status. God's putting that in there, chapter 5, verse 1, right off the bat. He has status. He's a great man. Not just a man, he is a great man, a man of position. He's held in high regard. He's a commander. He's not just a soldier. He's not just a person. He's a commander in charge of men, taking on and leading battles, planning battles. He is someone who is valiant. He is a soldier of courage and bravery. He's up front leading the way. He's Naaman. And when you speak his name, you know who he is in that community. Aram, for those who don't know, is also Syria. In the Old Testament, it's often known as Aram, and in the New Testament, Syria. Same location. And so Naaman had success. We saw that, did we not? The Lord gave him success in victories. Yahweh did. Yahweh has given a Syrian army led by Naaman victory. Now that's important to remember because God is the God of the world, the universe, of all creation, whether people submit to him or not. His plan will succeed because he makes a way. But the Lord gave him victories. My guess is many of you have had victories in your life where the Lord has been with you and given you victories. We've seen it time and time again. Jolie and Jamie Ray and Jonah have seen it in the Truman family. So Naaman had respect. Who doesn't want to be respected? In fact, if you can't stand being disrespected, raise your hand. We don't like being disrespected, right? We don't. And so here's this guy. He's respected for his position, for all the things he's accomplished. He is a respected man. When he walks into the room, people stand up, kind of a thing, right? But he has this one problem. He's got leprosy. And leprosy is a disease that your skin begins to rot, pieces begin to fall off over time, and you eventually will die from it. Nobody wants to be around somebody who's a leper. They have leper colonies for a reason. It's contagious. He has all this stuff, all this success. He's a leper. You know, it's probably the early stages at this point, spreading. Forget this. The man who had everything except what he needed. You ever look for a tool, pour to the house? I just need this one tool, and you can't find it. You start getting on the phone. Hey, you have this. You go to Lowe's, you try to find it. You can't find it there. Or you're baking a cake. You're making something at home. You get one ingredient you need. Well, Naaman had everything that mankind says is important, except what he needed. Someone said people often look together on the outside, got it all together, but on the inside they're carrying wounds that they can't cure. How many times have you walked into a room full of people or laid your head down on your pillow at night? You look calm on the outside, but on the inside there's a hurricane. And the waters are coming over the levee. And like New Orleans, we pray. Now, bands from Aram had gone out and had taken captive a young girl from Israel, and she served Naaman's wife. She said to her, "Mistress, if only my master would see the prophet who was in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." Naaman went to his master and told him what the girl from Israel had said. Now, this is desperation, right? He's got a disease. He's looking for help. But I highlight some things I want you to see. You got the bands from Aram. That's Naaman's army. They're going out in the name of the king, capturing and gathering. You have this Israelite girl who is a what? She's a servant. She is also a slave. She's a slave who happens to be in the service of Naaman's wife. Of all the slaves that get taken, this one is in his house. And as she took confidence and said to her Naaman's wife, he can be healed. You think that fell on Miss Millie's heart? That there's a healing? You think that fell on my dad's heart? There was a healing for my mom back in 21? When you're desperate, whether it's for your health, your job, your career, your family. But if someone comes along and says, I have what you don't have, I can point you to it. Your ears perk up. Even if it sounds ludicrous, you're willing to try anything when you're desperate. So you have in this situation, a little servant girl is a slave. You have a man of respect and renown. You have a man's wife. And he went to his master. Whose name is master? Well, he's the king. The king couldn't help him. He didn't know about this prophet. Naaman couldn't help himself. He didn't know about this prophet. Naaman's wife couldn't help him. She didn't know about this prophet. But that little servant girl, she knew. And she had a choice to make. Do I tell her? Or do I keep it to myself? So by all means, go, the king of Aram replied, I will send a letter to the king of Israel. So we're going to have this delegation, king to king, position to position, power to power, ruler to ruler, authority to authority. I'm going to send the king to him. So Naaman left, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of clothing. The letter that Naaman took to the king of Israel read, with this letter I am sending my servant Naaman to you so that you may cure him of his leprosy. He's wanting to know, hey, this is my boy. That's how companies work too, right? It's my salesman. I highly recommend him. Take care of him. You know what I'm talking about, right? With this guy. So you have this king. This is my man. I want you to take care so that you can cure him. Talking to the king. As soon as the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his robes and said, am I God? And have you ever found yourself there? You're in the hospital room. You're sitting there staring at the bank account, and you're like, I don't know how to fix it. And your wife, or your spouse, or your husband, or your friend, or your cousin says, fix it, Daddy. And you're like, I don't know how. I can't. You may not say it out loud, but you think it on the inside. And the king says, am I God? Can I kill and bring back to life? He knows Naaman's disease is a death penalty. Why does this fellow send someone to me to be cured of his leprosy? See how he's trying to pick a quarrel with me? In other words, I got something you can't do, so to speak. When Elisha, the man of who? God. Everybody's serving somebody else, but Elisha, we find out right off the bat, he's serving God. Heard the king of Israel had torn his robes, he sent him this message to the king. Why have you torn your robes? Have the man come to me, and he will know that there is a prophet in Israel. Prophet in this context is not just someone who can predict the future, it's someone who's a mouthpiece for the living God, who has a relationship with God and speaks the direct words of God. You with me? That's what we're talking about here. So Naaman went with the horses and chariots and stopped at the door of Elisha's house, and Elisha sent a messenger to say to him. Elisha didn't go to him. He sent a messenger. Another servant. Go wash yourself 7 times in the Jordan, and your flesh will be restored, and you will be cleansed. You think Jordan, in that context, think the Bayou Teche. It's nasty. You don't want to get in it. But Elisha's saying, this disease you have is going to take your life. Go wash yourself, dip yourself 7 times, and you will be clean. But Naaman went away angry and said, I thought that he would surely come out to me, stand, and call on the name of the Lord. Lord who? His God. Because Naaman's gods hadn't worked so far. Wave his hand over the spot, abracadabra, and cure me of my leprosy. He's mad. He's just been told what to do, and his response is anger. When faith becomes a formula, when God doesn't move how we expect it, say that again. That's what he's looking for, right? It's a formula. I thought he would surely come out, stand, call, wave, and cure you. So when faith becomes a formula, when God doesn't move how you expect it, what formulas are we trusting for ourselves? I can do it myself. I can fix this myself. We have a hard time asking for help. We have a hard time trusting other ways. But Naaman's in a position where he's got no options except to go wash himself, let what the prophet of God says come true, or to die. Why do you suppose, this is a rhetorical question, why do you suppose rather than doing what he was told to do, he says, no, he didn't do what I expected you to do, so I'm going to do. I suggest to you that it was beneath him. Don't you know me? I'm Naaman. Just say the word. We know God can do that because in the New Testament, the centurion servant was dying. And the centurion went to Jesus asking for help. He said, you don't have to come under my roof. Just say the word, and he will be healed. And he was. But in this instance, he says, go wash yourself. And Naaman's like, uh-uh. He says this, are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than any of the waters of Israel? At least give me some cleaner water. I mean, you got the Gulf of Mexico or you got the Caribbean. Let me have the Caribbean. Couldn't I wash in them and be cleansed? So he turned and he went off in a rage. How often have we been told how to fix things in our life? But we didn't like the solution. Whether it be at work, whether it be at school, whether it be in our marriages, whether it be in our relationship with the Most High God. How often have we turned in rage? So Naaman came with a plan, right? I have wealth. He brought clothes. He brought gold. He brought silver. He brought his position, his influence. I got a letter from the king. I'm the king's man. He came with assumptions that there was going to be this act. He was expecting, like most people today, that healing would come through religious formula. And that's what Israel suffered with too when Jesus came. They were so locked into the temple worship and the sacrifices and all the extra laws that were not even there that they created, right? They added to the law. So much so that when the Lord came, they didn't even recognize it. Because they expected healing to come through a formula rather than a relationship with Jesus. That's why for many people, it seems like foolishness. So surrender isn't weakness, it's where healing begins. For those who are wondering, I learned how to use AI pictures. Still working on it. It's my first attempt. Surrender starts with admitting you can't fix yourself. There are some things you can't fix. I'm going to tell you one right now. While the cross was brutal, this is more brutal. You have an expiration date. You do. Leprosy was the how Naaman was done. It might be old age. It might be a car wreck. It might be a disease. But there's no cure except Jesus. Well, why can't I do it another way? Well, you can. It just won't work. Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. But surrender starts with admitting you can't fix it yourself. That's true in your relationships with your marriages. Sometimes our marriages are struggling and we don't want help. Let me rephrase that. We do, but we're afraid to ask for help because everybody's going to think something's wrong with us. I know some people like Trip and Cheyenne, they go to marriage, they've been married a year today, they've been to three marriage conferences for their marriage. Not because their marriage is in trouble, but because they want to continue building into their marriage. To watch it grow and to watch it prosper, to learn from other people. But surrender starts with admitting you can't fix yourself. So God is not moved by our formulas, He's moved through what? Surrender. Naaman wanted a formula, God says surrender. We all want predictable step-by-step answers, don't we? When you're talking to somebody about something really near to your heart, you're stressing. Okay, just tell me what to do. And they're trying to lay out for you. Now just get to the end of it. Tell me the bottom line. No, I need to tell you what we do and how to make it work. We all want predictable step-by-step answers. And somebody said, God will often offend your mind to reveal your heart. Naaman's heart was revealed when he refused to wash. Pride, arrogance, maybe some others. 2 Kings 5:13, Naaman's servants went to him and said, My father, if the prophet had told you to do something great, some great thing, would you not have done it? So this servant of Naaman knows him. He's probably been with Naaman on the battlefield. Everywhere Naaman goes, he goes. It's Naaman's personal servant. He knows him like nobody else except his wife. He says, the prophet had told you to do something great. Wouldn't you have done it? Yeah, because great makes me look good. How much more of him when he tells you, wash and be clean? So, it took two servants to get Naaman headed in the right direction. It took the slave girl. She was a prophet of Israel. You see different people playing out in that. And now you have another servant saying, here's the healing. Why won't you do it? He doesn't attack him. He just asks a fair question. So breakthrough often comes not through what feels impressive, but through what feels uncomfortable. Another way of saying simple obedience. You know, some of the best things about friendships, it's just simple. Caring for each other, loving each other, serving each other, being kind to each other, being compassionate to each other. Marriage, putting your spouse ahead of yourself. When you're both doing that, you take care of each other. A lot of struggles and bickering will stop if you'll be quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to become angry. But so how often do we explode and make the matters worse? And Naaman, in all his attendants, went back to the man of God. So I want you to see this. Here's this man who went from one extreme to another, went into the water 7 times. Not 6 times, not 5 times, not 4, not 3, not 2, not 1, but 7 times. And he comes up clean, just like he had been told. What emotions do you feel like are going through this man's mind? I don't want you to think about it out loud, but he has a death sentence, and he's just been given life. So Naaman and all his attendants went back to the man of God. Notice this, they're not putting the highlight on him being the prophet who healed him, the man of God. He stood before him and said, Now I know there is no God in all the world except in Israel. This pagan man who had exhausted everything. All of his money, all of his resources, all of his position, everything, including his own gods, understands now that there's no God in all the world except Israel. No. Please accept now a gift of your servant. And isn't that what we usually think? That God wants something from us for our healing? And I get why people think that, because we take an offering, but as Tripp said earlier, the offering is to take care of the expenses. But so often, we exasperate those expenses. And we make faithfulness to God based on how much money you put in the collection plate versus giving God your heart and surrender. So there's no wonder that people think that's what they want, or what he wants. The prophet answered, As surely as the Lord lives, whom I serve. You serve your kings, I serve God. He didn't say the king of Israel. He said, I serve God. I will not accept the thing. And even though Naaman urged him, he refused. If you will not, said Naaman, please let your servant be given as much earth as a pair of mules can carry. Why? For I will never again make burnt offerings and sacrifices to any other god before. He wants to be in what he perceives to be holy ground. he doesn't yet understand that God is all present in all places, not confined to a building or a board. But may the Lord forgive your servant for this one thing. When my master enters the temple of Rimmon to bow down, and he is leaning on my arm, the king of Samaria. And I bow down there also. When I bow down to the temple of Rimmon, may the Lord forgive your servant for this. In other words, I'm not serving any other God but Yahweh now. And Elisha says, go in peace. And after Naaman had traveled some distance, and you can read the rest of the story. The rest of the story is kind of this, for time's sake. Elisha's servant saw what God had done through Elisha. Saw Elisha refuse all the money and gifts. He thought, hey, I'm going to get this. He chases out after him and begins to tell Naaman, hey, look, my master changed his mind. Give me your stuff. And so he does. And he leaves. And he hides it. And then Elisha asked him why he did such an evil thing, because Elisha knew what he had done. And the leprosy that had been on Naaman is now on Elisha's servant. In doing that, that servant was undermining the work of God, making Naaman think he could buy his life. We can't buy our salvation. We can't buy our life. Jesus paid for it. And it's a gift to you and it's a gift to me. Someone said grace can't be bought or bargained for. It's received through surrender. Finally getting to the place like Naaman, you realize I got no place else to go. So closing challenge. Are you trying to use a formula? Or are you ready to surrender? You see, because if we're honest, even those of us who've been Christians for a long time, followers of Christ, we can slide back into that performance mode, trying to earn our salvation. Serving so that we can be saved, not understanding that we serve because we are saved. I serve my wife because I love her for who she is and what she's done. When it becomes just what I can get out of it, our relationship is going to suffer. So are you holding on to expectations of how God should move? I'm going to tell you right now, your ways and my ways are not God's ways. Those who have been around long enough, you know it to be true already. Are you frustrated that spiritual steps haven't produced the results you wanted? Yeah, I'm doing all the stuff, but I don't feel close to God. Or I haven't got what I'm praying for. We're going to be talking about that in our series starting next week. Sometimes God answers no. Could it be that God is willing to call you to stop striving and simply trust Him? As we close this out before our final song. Jesus said, if there's any other way, to let this cup be removed from me. Just like Naaman. Isn't there a better river? We've got to finish the rest of the story. If there's any other way, but if not, let your will be done. But what Jesus was doing was not for his sake, it was for our sake. So that graphic picture, how many times had Jesus, the man and the boy, walked past the crucifixion and heard the screams? And for the 33 years that he was alive, how many times did he think about, my day's coming? Yeah, he was going to be resurrected. He knew that. But he still had to go through it. But the difference between Jesus and Naaman in the beginning, Jesus always was willing to put the Father's way first. And what I would leave you with today, if Jesus was, is, and will always be the only cure for what kills us. Cancer, diabetes, car wrecks, wars. Those are the how. The why is we choose our own path. And Jesus died for us while we were still sinners, while we were still choosing our own path. And then he offers you and I the chance to be made clean and to be made whole. For those who are already in Christ, he's a reminder that you have been forgiven and your sin has been separated as far as the east is from the west. Let's go ahead and be standing, if you would. We're going to be singing this song about Jesus being our cornerstone. A cornerstone is that stone that you build everything else around. It's foundational. When you get it right, everything else